All right, we're going to get started here. Thank you for everyone for joining today. I'm happy to welcome everyone to our roundtable discussion on the new universal coupons impact on consumer packaged goods for brands and retailers. My name is Deb Seidel. I'm the Director of Marketing at Fobi, and I will be your host today. I'd like to welcome all of our panelists today. We have Michael Loyson, who's the Senior Brand Director for Procter & Gamble, Tim Hauser, who is the Vice President of Market Solutions, Brandy Johnson, CEO of the Coupon Bureau, and Eddy Watson, President of Qples by Fobi. We'll start our roundtable discussion where I'll lead our panelists through a set of topics. After we've finished that, we'll finish off with some Q&A at the end. You can submit any questions that you may have for our panelists using the Zoom functionality on the bar below. So you just click that Q&A section there. You can fill out your question and it will submit it to us so we can ask it at the end. Before we dive in, I'm going to give our panelists a brief minute just to introduce themselves. So Michael, I'm going to start with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mike Loyson, work here at P&G, been here in our marketing department now for, 17 years. Currently, I'm responsible for our coupon platform. So really the execution and the innovation that all of our brands are using to ultimately execute coupons at a team level and at a shopper level.
And Tim, I'm going to move on to you.
Okay, thank you. Tim Hauser, 40 years in the CPG industry. Seems like just yesterday when I started my first job. I've been in a multitude of different sales and marketing roles with different organizations like Kimberly-Clark, M&M Mars, and also sales agencies. I work with MMI today, Market Solutions, and we are a company that helped develop brands, including private brands and new and emerging brands, and have been an advisor with the Coupon Bureau and work very closely with Brandy and her team.
Great. And Eddy?
Hey, Eddy Watson here from Qples. I've been at Qples now for a little over 10 years since we first started it. And we are a coupon platform technology, and we allow brands to be able to easily build, manage, and distribute their coupons anywhere and everywhere. And we are super excited about the new 8112 stuff.
And Brandy?
Yep, I'm Brandy Johnson. I'm the CEO of the Coupon Bureau and thrilled to be here with all of you guys.
Great, thank you. Well, Brandy, I'm going to start with you to give us some background on first TCB and the universal coupons before we start digging into a little bit of the benefits for brands and retailers. So Brandy, could you give us a quick level set on what 8112 is or universal coupons for our audience?
Sure. So the industry needed a digital direct-to-consumer solution for CPGs. And that was really the intent of the new 8112 coupon format, would be a universal digital coupon that was retailer agnostic so that brands would have the ability to do direct-to-consumer outreach in a digital format with the assumption that that coupon could be used at any retailer. Through the process of us developing that new tool for the industry, we had to restructure the barcode and the process around how those coupons would be redeemed and processed. And what we quickly realized as an industry, not me, the whole industry, is that in those modifications that we made to the barcode, we actually limited fraud. So by pulling the purchase requirements out of the barcode, now shoppers fraudulently can't go in and adjust just, maybe a face value or adjust an expiration date or even adjust the purchase requirements. So we mitigated that. The other thing is with the new 8112 format, all of the barcodes are mandatorily serialized. So what that did from a fraud perspective was single use, kill at the till coupons. What it did for the brands is it gave them direct attribution. So depending on who their provider is and what those capabilities are to identify that shopper, the brands now can see attribution of those offers, not only just to the shopper, but Mike and I have had lots of conversations about being able to see attribution by channel. So, they could see that maybe I engaged with a media banner, but then I also go to P&G Good every day. So having that ability to understand which channels is really important. Once we got the 8112 format complete and all the guidelines and everything built, the industry said, because of the fraud mitigation, this really needs to be the new coupon format. This needs to be the new standard that we move to, not just an ancillary extra coupon type. And so we began as an industry building out the guidelines around 8112 on paper, which are now complete, which is super exciting. And so what we're looking at today with the new coupon format is a single use kill at the till solution, whether that's in the digital or paper format. We also have the ability to use these in other verticals as well. So that's kind of the high level about 8112. I would say, any of you guys want to throw anything else out just foundationally that I might have missed? Okay.
No, I think that was a great coverage of it. And let's move on to the Coupon Bureau. So how was the Coupon Bureau created and who created it?
That is a very good question. So there's several industry associations that are the regulatory agencies, if you would, for couponing in the United States for grocery. The ACP, the Association of Coupon Professionals, and the JICC, which is the Joint Industry Coupon Council. The JICC has representation from both FMI on the retailer side and then CBA, the Consumer Brand Association, which is their representation from the manufacturing group. And that's a really beautiful thing because that organization is just retailers talking to brands and, vice versa. So you don't have that third party influence. And so those are the two organizations that came together to issue the RFP for some solution that would create this capability around 8112. Our group was selected to create that. I always kind of joke that it seems counterintuitive. We left our for-profit entity to go start a nonprofit, which is the most anti-capitalistic thing in the world. But the Bureau itself is an industry nonprofit. Through our board, we have industry management, and our job is, I've described it so many different ways. We're like the FDIC of coupons. We're the electric company. We're just that infrastructure there that takes care of the ecosystem. We don't create coupons. We don't distribute coupons. We don't see consumer data. We don't see basket data. We don't do clearing. We are literally just the rails or the pipes for all the stakeholders to connect to and for all that couponing function to be able to be processed through.
And we're going to dive into both the brand and retailer side, but what is required from all the various stakeholders to participate in this new initiative?
Yeah, so what's beautiful about this is it's a true ecosystem. Our industry has been very fragmented for many years. And it's not, a lot of people, when I say that, think I'm talking about providers or walled gardens. It's not even that. It's also point of sale, and point of sale not having connection to the outside world. I think that we would be in a very different place right now if we hadn't seen all the innovation that we have in point of sale over the last probably 5-6 years of moving processes to the cloud. And so what it takes to participate is connectivity to the Bureau. I would say the word Bureau is synonymous with connection. And that connected ecosystem is what allows everyone to receive the data back and forth that they need to. It's where all the security happens. And so what's required is connectivity. And we've done I think our little team has done a really good job of getting brands connected and providers connected and clearinghouses connected. And now we're all collectively working on retailer connectivity. And that's kind of our last mile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for our first topic that we're going to talk about, we're going to look at the retailer side and what are those top benefits for retailers. So Tim, I'm going to start with you. As you think of the new coupon standards and retailers, what are the top benefits that come to mind?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to participate as panelists in today's session. I also want to make a disclaimer. I'm not a retailer. I'm not representing any specific retailer, but
he has played one on TV.
But what I am being asked to do is we've had multiple discussions with many retailers about the TCB 8112 platform, and I want to share some of those thoughts. Further, and on a personal and also a corporate level, having been involved in this business since the early 80s, this is one of the most important industry-wide initiatives that I've personally ever been part of implementing. And it's a real game changer for our industry. So to your question, Devin, it's a good one. We see that retailers are going to really benefit in 3 areas. It's operations, finance, and loss prevention. How they're going to feel that impact is going to be in the ways of things like reducing operational cost, fraud mitigation on the redemption of coupons, and reducing settlement time for the redemption of coupons, all of which hit right at the pocketbook. So that's important to bottom line performance on an initiative like this. How that will be experienced in the store and with the retailer will be things like efficiency at the checkout lane, frictionless coupon redemption so that the interaction between the cashier and the consumer is a good one, something that's very seamless. It'll eliminate the handling of paper coupons, which we all know, both from a consumer standpoint and watching that happen at the checkout lane, how that works. And then it's things like just accuracy in the coupon handling, the accelerated reconciliation, as I said, real-time coupon validation. And at the end of the day, there's another nugget in here that will really pay dividends to the retailer, and that is enhanced and accurate coupon redemption data. The idea that becomes very usable to the retailer. So there's a tremendous amount of value in this proposition, in this initiative. And I would say that the retailers all get it, but then it's a matter of we need to make sure that we're spreading the word to get it implemented.
And Mike, a little bit different of a question for you, but similar concept. From a CPG point of view, how do you think this benefits retailers or the relationship between them and you as a CPG?
No, absolutely. I'll start with kind of Tim's points. I've not been in the industry as long, but I do think this is an incredible opportunity for us. And when I say us, I'm thinking the shopper, the retailer, the CPG, and of course, all of our partners that help make it happen. I think this is really our true white space opportunity, right? Paper coupons are on the decline. Low ID growth is tapering to flat in some instances. And really, brands are seeking other opportunities, right? Those brand dollars are being spent less and less on coupons, which I imagine a lot of us on this call today is a concerning fact. But as we think about kind of CPGs and how we partner with retailers, what are some of the benefits that we think are best available for those retailer partners? I think the one that's most meaningful for me, actually one of my early jobs in life was I was a cashier at a grocery store. And I start there in terms of what I think that the benefits are. One, you've got labor savings, faster checkout, right? With 8112 now you have an opportunity to bundle all your coupons to a single scan. Or if retailers want, completely at their discretion, you can link that 8112 content to their ID, right? Their loyalty ID. And then there's no scanning whatsoever, right? You eliminate all of that effort and sorting associated with paper coupons today. And you remove that tension, right? Cashiers will no longer have to police, right? That tension between cashier and shopper that can cause a retailer visit to go south from an equity standpoint, we remove that. And actually, I think more meaningfully, now we make sure that coupon distributors are responsible for that, right? So we'll make sure there's a 1-800 number. We'll make sure those questions and concerns come back to the manufacturers and the providers, not to the cashier. So I think that's an immediate benefit. I think other opportunities for retailers, increased shopper reach, right? We've got a new tool now with 8112 to drive shopper acquisition. The best loyalty programs reach maybe 40% of shoppers. With 8112's flexibility, you can now append an 8112 offer to literally any touch point, whether it be in-store, on-shelf, print, programmatic media, Facebook, text, email. You can add purchase intent opportunities to a media touch point, which I think is huge. For retailers, it meets all the requirements, right? It's data privacy and protection. There's no PII shared. There's no basket data shared. But I think most meaningfully, it's going to impact their bottom and top line results. We're going to eliminate fraud. We're going to eliminate all those associated costs, right? We can reinvest team funds not to cover rejected coupon submissions, but instead now to drive our joint ROI promotion tactics, right? Feature merch and whatever that retailer's go-to-market strategy is. We can drive digital clearing, right? Which is going to bring cash flow benefits to many. And then as Tim mentioned, huge data opportunities, right? Retailers will be able to understand coupons at a buy shopper level if they want. And then incremental demand creation. Yeah, I started here, right? And that is, I think the industry is seeing a tapering and a reduction of coupon investment as brands really kind of bifurcate their planning, right? They're all about today cheap media, and they're about promotional tactics and spending. Sampling, couponing, and a lot of stuff in the middle is unfortunately shrinking in terms of investments. I think 8112, because of its flexibility, allows brands to reinvest in that middle and ultimately drive increased demand creation.
And Brandy, for you, are we just talking about grocery retailers here in this universal coupon ecosystem, or are there a lot more that are involved as well?
Yes. So I think the initial ask was for grocery from the grocery industry for the solution. And when I say grocery, I mean grocery, drug, dollar, mass. As soon as we were selected for this, I immediately reached out to Connexus and NACS, the National Association of Convenience Stores, with Connexus being their standards and technology arm, because of a really interesting conversation I had probably 8-10 years ago with a dear friend of mine that used to be at Coca-Cola. We were talking about print at home. And I said, I have this amazing tech team. What problem do you have that you need to solve? And she looked me dead square in the face and said, C-store. And I was like, I don't even, like, what does that even mean? And now, of course, I understand, but C-store, and first of all, C-store owner operators have been cut out of those CPG promotions, not because of CPGs, but because of point of sale. There wasn't a way to scan. There wasn't a way for them to validate against a basket. And so now not only have we allowed this 8112 capability to be available in C-store for the retailers, but now for the CPGs, we have so many CPG brands that we talk to that have really heavy C-store presence. We were on the phone with Jack Links yesterday, and they were like, yes, the lady on there who's the sweetest woman, she said, Brandy, I know this sounds weird, but I'm so excited because I can't sleep because I just keep thinking about all the places that we can use 8112. And so that is phenomenal. I think the other thing right behind that is big box. So we've been asked to go kind of two different directions as it relates to big box. The pet market, so like your PetSmart, your Petco's, because we have so many brand partners that have pet product lines. And then the other one on the other side is home improvement and business, like Staples, Home Depot. So many of our brands have overlap into those markets as well. So I would say for today, grocery, drug, mass, dollar, C-store, with some of those other big box, hopefully coming on maybe next year.
And some people touched on it a little bit, but there is that onus on what the cashier has the power to do. And with 8112, it's a little bit different. So just to tie up that end part there, cashier overrides have been an issue in the past with the 8110 coupon format. So what does that look like with 8112 now?
Yeah, and the reason that cashier overrides could even be done is because everything that the cashier needed to be able to validate that offer was right there on the actual coupon. So with the new 8112 format, by removing the purchase requirements and some of that detail from the physical presentation of the coupon, cashier overrides are really a thing of the past, which I think it makes everyone go, whew, especially the cashier. She doesn't want to be the one doing that. So because that information has to come from Bureau along with the G10s or UPCs that coupon's good for, there really isn't a way for cashier intervention to happen anymore with this coupon type.
Great. And we'll move on to our next topic. So our next topic is, do universal coupons impact retailer loyalty? So we talked a little bit on this before, but I'd like to dive into that a little bit more. So continuing on the retailer view, Tim, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you describe for us the retailer loyalty in Innovative and its importance to the merchant?
Okay. Yeah, good question. Well, first to start, loyalty programs are critical to retailers. I think that's a foregone conclusion. Yeah, the execution means that the retailers really link to their core, key, most important, most valuable shopper. And collecting rich data on these core shoppers and being able to stay connected to them is important. With universal coupons, it's the opportunity now to fold in more CPG offers into the loyalty programs. And as a result, the consumer wins big because now they've got more savings opportunities and more connectivity to brands through the loyalty program. So it really does impact that triangle of, the retailer, the consumer, and the CPG all together by marrying up this additional offers into the loyalty platforms.
And you've been socializing universal coupons with retailers. So what has been their feedback then?
Well, that might be the most salient question of the day. I will tell you, to start, there's absolute recognition of the value. So the idea that you have all those value propositions that Mike spoke to and that Brandy has spoken to and that I mentioned in my comments, That is an absolute check the box, got it. But then the discussion gets real. The discussion gets wrapped around things that are very immediate. And you start talking about things like, what is the IT integration? How complex is it? How expensive is it going to be? And the idea that, we try to give a really broad overview of how simple and straightforward this can be, given a lot of the resources that are in the market today. There's a lot of retailers, doesn't make it wrong, but it's we don't want to be first. We would rather be a follower, and we'd rather see someone else plow the ground. And even with the clear understanding of the value prop, they would really rather see someone else be the first one to wade in. And that's true even with what we all have heard and know to be true, is that there will be a sunsetting of the current platform, and the fact that there could be a mad rush to the inline. But even with that mentality still remains. But then there's a lot of short-term things that have been very prevalent in the last few months. And it's things like product availability, just getting stock on the shelves, logistical challenges, and really the ability to staff the stores, the ability to have adequate staff to do what's necessary every day to run the business. So those are all important things that we have to understand that the business must go on, and you have to run an initiative like TCB and universal coupons in parallel to all the other things that are required. But the overarching value is what should drive us. And the real key to it is that it needs to be a continuing effort of education and reinforcement of the value proposition, along with showing retailers really how straightforward it can be to implement.
And Brandy, you mentioned before that TCB is kind of the glue that ties things together, the communication channel or the tracks. So what can you share from TCB's retailers' conversations and how that relates to their questions about loyalty?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to say, I think that Mike Loyson probably has the most elegant description of how 8112 and loyalty pair together. So I'm going to hand off to him, but first sorry, Mike, I was going to give you a heads up and speak for one more minute so you get your thoughts together as I just lob it your way. But I would say that we've had so many retailers that don't have loyalty right now. So think about all the mid-tier and independents. Loyalty has been too costly for them to participate in. And the thing for those particular retailers that we hear is, thank you for giving us a digital solution to couponing that we can't get right now. So I just wanted to address those mid-tier and independents. I think it's very important that they now could have those digital coupon availability for their shoppers. But Mike, I wanted you to maybe explain how you feel like loyalty and 8112 kind of live side by side.
Yeah, happy to. And I think there's a ton of reasons why CPGs and manufacturers should be really excited about 8112. But just to keep my current thoughts specific to the question, right? How does load ID or loyalty compare to 8112, and is there interaction there or even a threat? And I think what I'd do is I'd start off by taking a step back and saying, P&G launched Brand Saver in 2002, so call it 20 years ago. And that, of course, was about delivering some specific brand needs and objectives, right? Cascade wants to make sure you're aware of the fact that we have rinse aid and so forth. But then the big idea behind Brand Saver, the other big idea was it created a retailer partnership, basically a tool for us to drive demand creation and partner with retailers to translate that demand creation into sales, right? It was a great co-merchandising tool that we could sit down with retailers. That said, fast forward to call it 2007, I think, is approximately when the industry started load ID. We immediately saw the opportunity there. We didn't shy away from load ID because of the fact that we had Brand Saver. It was quite the opposite. I don't know specific CPG numbers, but I'd have to say that P&G probably led in terms of a mix standpoint and was much more aggressive in load ID content. And that is because we saw the opportunity to hard code or hardwire that partnership, right? Brand Saver was a bit more of a couple degrees removed, but now with load ID content, we can actually sit down with a retailer. They can bring out their plans, their objectives, their needs, and we can actually design our coupon plan specific to that retailer and hardwire our coupon content to deliver those joint objectives. There is no way in my eyes that I could ever emulate that in any other tool that was outside of a retailer's network. Brand Saver can't do it, 8112 can't do it. That's the beauty of load ID, right? It starts with the retailer and their go-to-market objectives. I don't think anything will change that. Certainly won't in P&G's eyes. So I think the bottom line is I expect 8112 to have zero impact to our eSaver or load ID content.
And we actually just have a question from the audience that I feel actually fits really well with this topic that we're touching on. So I'm going to just ask it generally now. How is 8112 less costly than loyalty, or what is that relationship of the two, looking at them side by side?
Mike, I don't
Yeah, I can share some initial thoughts. I'm not sure it's going to be less costly. Ultimately, it's going to come back to redemption rates, which are very difficult to estimate, right? We have no idea what kind of redemption rate we'll see in 8112. Most of the initial cost structure in 8112 is on a clip and offer basis. So it's really hard to make those comparisons. We know load to ID brings an awareness component, right? As we sit in retailer galleries, that 8112 won't offer. So I don't think brands are looking at a comparison between the two in terms of cost structure. Really, when we compare costs, we're looking at 8112 versus paper. We're not looking at 8112 versus load ID from a cost perspective, from a retailer strategy standpoint, or really in any way. We're really comparing 8112 to paper, in which case there's a ton of advantages, fraud, and a host of other efficiencies. So I appreciate the question. What I'd say is we don't know the cost comparison, and I'd say at least for P&G, it's not necessarily relevant. What's relevant for us is 8112 versus some of the paper alternatives.
Great, thanks, Mike. And we'll move on to our next topic. So looking at specifically e-com environments. So let's discuss if these coupons can be used in retail within these e-commerce environments. So as an extension of the retailer brick and mortar, Brandy, I'm gonna direct this one to you first. Can these coupons be redeemed in a retailer's e-commerce environment?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about it technically, and then I'll let Eddy or someone talk about the actual, what it physically looks like as an execution. So in the process, whenever a provider distributes one of these 8112 coupons to the shopper, they are going to append that serial number to the back and then simultaneously deposit that to the Coupon Bureau's master offer file. As soon as that hits the master offer file, we return back to them a code that can be used in e-com that equates to that serial number. So the vision always was, and you have to remember when we built this was the process. We probably built the process 4 years ago and the actual tech 3 years ago. This is pre-COVID. And so we said, well, we'll build it. And then whenever someone needs it, right? Whenever someone gets ready to have it, it'll be there. And we've certainly seen this dramatic shift in consumer behavior. I'm a shopper. My dramatic shift in my behavior as it relates to shopping online. So yes, they can be used in e-com, and there's multiple ways to do that, but the most fundamental basic way is a short code that can be entered into the cart. Eddy, do you want to talk about e-com and what that looks like from an execution standpoint?
Yeah, so the biggest thing about this is how do we take a coupon that may or may not start in the digital space and become a digital thing. So the coupon could essentially start as something print. It could start as something that they saw somewhere and they scanned a QR code to get access to it. So that means it could start as on pack. It could start as something they received in the mail or something they discovered online. And there's multiple ways that they can do it. And ours is always built around how do we make it as simple as possible for the consumer. And so our idea is we want options because every consumer is going to interact with this coupon and redeem it in their own personal way. And so can we let them interact directly in the browser? Do we give them an app that allows them to store and sort that and maybe even bundle those coupons together to save lane time? Or are they one of the new shoppers that are doing everything from home? And in that scenario, they can discover that coupon wherever they want. And with a simple button click, they can either view the barcode or they can view a simple code that can be entered in just like a promo code. And that's really just step one. Simple, easy, you can redeem that coupon. And then the next step are additional integrations across the board that we can go through and do with other companies that allow for those coupons to maybe even be discovered in that e-com process. But those are all step twos. And the first part is really just, let's accept this coupon online and make this coupon that was essentially never allowed to be redeemed online, redeemed there. And now you get a whole bunch of other things that you can do to turn and merge these brick and mortar and online stores together.
Super cool.
And Mike, building off of that, how do manufacturers plan for e-com versus in-store? Or do you consider it all under one retailer relationship umbrella?
Yeah, no, this is an interesting case, right? It starts as, hey, what are our brand objectives and how do we want to connect with consumers and shoppers? So there's no difference. We don't sit down and think, okay, what do we want to do from a couponing standpoint in an e-com world versus an in-store world? There's really no difference. So it starts as joint planning and strategy, but then when it comes time to execute, that's unfortunately when we're forced to silo. And it's really just about platform choices and opportunities. And so that's the exciting thing about 8112. Is that allows us to deliver, call it omni content, right? We as an industry now can give a shopper a coupon that he or she can use wherever they're shopping, no matter what their choices. It's no longer encumbered by the fact that they're going online versus in store. And I think the great thing about that mirrors what all of our retailers are trying to do too, right? Everyone is trying to basically meet that shopper wherever she is shopping at whatever time. And 8112 does exactly that.
And Tim, over to you. How have the retailers' view on e-commerce shifted since COVID? And do you see these consumer behaviors reverting or staying the same as they continue to shop?
Well, COVID undoubtedly accelerated the need for retailers to offer a comprehensive access to goods through e-commerce. And from everything we read, and a lot of the certainly more educated and in touch people in our industry, especially from a retailer point of view, see that it's not going to slow down. It's only going to grow in the future. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, all are going to continue to expand their use of e-commerce. And even some of us older boomers have embraced e-commerce and will continue to, utilize the platforms as they become more numerous and more accessible. But the real point here is that the traditional brick and mortar retailers really have to keep up with the prowess of offering a really robust e-commerce platform, especially to compete with the online only channels. So I see that being the biggest call out to your question, but e-commerce is here to stay.
We've had a great discussion currently about the retailer side, but let's bring in the manufacturer into this discussion now too. So let's look at our next topic is looking at the top benefits for manufacturers. And Mike, I'm going to start with you on this one. I would love for you to give us an overview of how brands are or thinking about using universal coupons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're only beginning to understand the potential benefits. I think the first thing I'd start with in one word is simplification. If we as a brand take a step back, there's probably a paper coupon out there that would help us accomplish most of our objectives, right? Whether it's, print at register, print at home, FSI, direct to consumer mail. We have a lot of options in terms of how we might execute a paper coupon today to meet those brand objectives. The problem is just share of mind, right? It's very difficult for a brand to be able to set up all of those various plans, especially as our brand teams get smaller and smaller. And you just become less strategic, you be much more fragmented. And I think by as an industry moves to 8112, I can just, as a brand manager now, I can just focus on what is my brand trying to do, and I don't have to worry about the tool and the strategy and the audience. It's more of just what am I trying to do, and then generate that offer. And then 8112 can deliver the rest. So I think in a word, I'd say simplification. I think the other thing it really does for CPGs is we can now link purchase intent and a purchase driver to any of our media investments. And so whether it's TV and a QR code, whether it's programmatic media online, whether it's Facebook, I mentioned all the ways we can distribute, right? We as an industry now can translate all of that media into incremental demand creation to drive both top and bottom line needs for both manufacturers as well as retailers. I think there's huge opportunity there. And then as I think about, 8112 ability to help transform media, I really get excited on the retailer media front. In retailer media, we are absolutely committed to and we're investing in. I think 8112, appending that to retailer media is going to be a huge opportunity because now I'm able to hit my shopper where she's thinking about shopping, when she's in that mindset, and then I can offer an incentive to purchase, to close, which should help drive that retailer media effectiveness and engagingness, which then makes it all the more attractive for brands to invest in. So I see that as allowing us to invest, again, beyond the cheap media I talked about earlier, into more meaningful media, reinvest that middle to drive higher conversion and greater purchase intent.
And Mike, you made some
And that's
very,
on top,
sorry,
and
yes,
that's on top
continue.
of like the fraud efficiency and all the other benefits we've already talked.
Yeah, great topics, great points there. Eddy, from a provider's perspective, can you answer a little bit of what Mike has talked about and what are some of the top benefits that you see for manufacturers?
Simplicity is a very good execution example, because some of the things that we constantly hear from brands specifically are they want to be able to sample the products more easily, and typically products that are not shelf stable. So items in the frozen section, stuff like that, that you can't easily ship out as a sample, you can now send those out in a very secure way directly to that consumer's phone to allow them to go into any retailer that's available and get that product and test it out. And that goes the same way for consumer support specifically. Every brand that I've ever talked to has someone or somebody in staff that is dealing with consumer complaints and issues of anything that's happening. And right now they have one or two options. They can send a physical coupon mailed out, which means that consumer doesn't get an instant solution to their problem. They're stuck waiting for days, weeks, in some cases even months to get a resolution to that problem. And in this scenario, the beauty of being able to deliver it to your phone and deliver it securely means you can just say, I'm so sorry. Here's an email, here's a text, here's a QR code, immediately solve your problem and go redeem that. And you retain that consumer and solve their problem quickly and easily for them, as opposed to these long drawn out processes. And past that, I haven't had a single brand that hasn't been come to me and said, is there a way to me to do it on my phone? The consumers carry their phones with them everywhere. They're doing everything through their phone now. And so you can actually issue that coupon directly there in a multitude of ways and allow that consumer to take that phone where they're at and use it to do a whole lot of other things. Coupons do so many amazing, wonderful things, but right now it's all based in a paper world, whether it starts as a digital printed home coupon that starts digital and ends up, or if it's something that is physically shipped to them, found in the newspaper, or handed to them directly. But now they can consolidate all of that stuff into their one thing, their device, their phone, and do these all at once. And it makes redeeming the coupons much more simple and much more fast. And it also gives them a lot less work that they have to do. We love the idea of planning your grocery shopping, but if you're like me or my family, we don't plan all of our grocery shopping. We have an idea and we try to make that plan, but that also means somebody's going to the grocery store every other day because you're constantly missing one or two items that you don't have. And if I just have to add another layer of organization and planning into it around my couponing, I'm probably going to be less likely to use it. But if I have a simple way to organize those and redeem those at once, then I'm going to be much more likely to do that and try things.
Very good point. That's a very good point. Understanding that each shopper journey is different and we want to make it easy for everyone depending on how their journey is. Brandy, as TCB was being developed, what was the one thing that your team was most excited about bringing to manufacturers?
I think it was the flexibility. I used to talk to, and I really get to talk to so many amazing people now in this job because we're Switzerland, right? But have talked to so many super smart marketers, and they have some of the most incredible ideas for unique outreach points or unique events or unique promotions. And we were so bound, I think, as an industry for so long. But then what was the executable? What was the call to action? How do we actually get the ROI, drive them, to that product? And so it just left us in these really weird siloed opportunities for activating those shoppers. And I've heard people now talk about, you can put a QR code on a bus and it's a coupon. And I'm like, yes, girl, go, whatever it is. So I think just opening up the abilities for these super smart marketers to be able to activate in whatever those cool new promotional styles or methodologies are. I think the other thing that I'm really excited about is the technology difference that we've seen in the last 10 years that, over a decade, I guess, that I've been in this business. The technology for the coupon and grocery market hasn't kept up with the technology in the rest of the world. And that's been a hurdle because our shoppers are moving into different places where we couldn't follow them, or we couldn't activate them. We couldn't engage with them. And so I kind of hinted on it at the beginning when I was talking about moving some of this stuff to the cloud. The thing that's most important for these retailers is if you work with us this time, right, and we can get all of this connectivity to the bureau done, then in the future, when there's new tech, when there's some new whiz bang thing and we're shooting coupon monkeys to the moon, Bureau can handle all of that burden of establishing it and supporting it. We don't have to keep going back to the retailers over and over and over. So I think those are probably the things that we've been most excited about bringing to market.
Awesome. We'll move on to our next topic. So our next topic is, what new capabilities can universal coupons bring to brand executions? So Eddy, I'm going to start with you on this one. First of all, we talk a lot about different functionality that comes with 8112. And the big question is, can these coupons be targeted?
Absolutely. So that's one of the beauties of it, is it's a coupon and you can determine as a manufacturer, what audience do I want to build, access, or send this coupon to? And you have access to essentially an unlimited amount of targeting that you want. There's hundreds and hundreds of really great media companies out there that can help you build an audience and target specifically. You have your own audience that you can target together. And because of the no way that we can do so many, poor word use, but interoperability between other things, you can do co-branded programs much easier and start to build an entire amount of things, combining audiences and thought patterns and things like that. And in the past, it was very, very difficult to do these things, and even harder to track the results because you weren't getting that information in real time. And so the ability to create a custom program now is kind of limited to your imagination as opposed to the technology that you have access to.
I like that. That's a good word.
And Tim, I think you have a unique take on this. In the case of private brands, the retailer is the brand. Have you had any discussions with retailers around using 8112 in private brand promotions?
Well, I would maybe change the question and the narrative just a little bit.
Sure.
So first of all, to answer the question, this is truly an opportunistic area for retailers, but the days of the name on the store banner being also the predominant private brand, those days are gone. Today's sophisticated retailers, and I'm including the vast majority of retailers, are creating really true brands, brands that have standalone, have their own brand essence. And as such, private brands need to compete with and develop marketing strategies just like national brands. So universal coupons then come in and are just really another important tool in the toolbox. So in as much as Mike would use it at P&G, private brands need to be using those same tools in the same manner, marketing their products aggressively to consumers, just like any other national brand would.
And Brandy, to lead off of that, I've heard you say before that 8112 is a game changer for brand promotions. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yes, I can try. I feel like I've been like giddy shouting out all these fantastic new ways, but I think if I think about the game changer, what I normally refer to in that, it's the attribution, it's being able to manage budget and know that if P&G is launching a new size, flavor, shape, right, of frickin' frack, whatever it is, then they can do a promotion that is just for that specific product. So now Mike has the ability to not have to take a budget and spread it out across an entire family code, because that was as narrowed down as we could get coupons, to be able to say, I only want this discount on that particular new brand or new flavor, new size, and limit his exposure for subsidizing anything else. I think between that, I think the fraud mitigation, kill at the till, making sure that budgets are taken care of. And then the attribution. Mike and I have talked about this, I don't know how many times, we said omni-channel, we're omni-channel. Yes, but we couldn't activate them. And then if we did, we didn't know who they were. And so being able to track those omni channels and really understand what's coming from there. And you see a shopper that the only time they engage is from Facebook. Oh, okay, well then I'm going to talk to her on Facebook from now on. I'm going to quit trying to throw dollars at her and other media. So I think that it's just, I feel like it's a magnifying glass finally on what has been happening with these shoppers as they engage in coupons, so that we can really understand what that is as a brand or marketer, and then exploit that in a good way to say we can be so much more targeted and specific.
And Michael, oh, sorry, Eddy, I'll let you have a chance to respond to that as well.
No, I was just going to jump on and add to that. omni-channel is the buzzword that everybody uses right now. And now multi-channel has kind of disappeared as this thing that people don't want to talk about. But the beauty of this is you can kind of merge those and test in real time now. So you can start multi-channel and test multiple things across the board. And with 8112, it can actually be a true multi-channel because you can actually hit all these different areas that you couldn't before. And then as you go in flight, you can adjust your campaigns and adjust your stuff to immediately go down and determine for this campaign, this is the best place that it worked, not just in general for my entire process. And it all boils down to the audience that you're reaching and targeting with those. And right now, sadly, it is a very siloed, segmented process for those things, but you can start to intermix those and see some consumers need to be reached in a certain way at a certain time of day, not just in a certain specific medium. And so it allows for so much more flexibility in what you're doing.
And Mike, I'll finish with you on that question. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I just start with this general concept that, today's paper coupons tools are so fragmented that we're often having to think tool first and we have to sell the tool. Now we can focus on what does the business need, right? So the question is, hey, look at this new fancy technology or paper coupon tool. Instead, it's all right, 8112, it's agility, it's flexibility, allows us to really put the technology to the side and ask the brand, what are you trying to do, right? And really, the impact can't be understated. This moves coupons from the coupon section in the brand plan to now suddenly every aspect of the go-to-market strategy now has coupon plans inherent to it, right? So it's more about now, how can we use coupons to drive retailer shopper acquisition? How can we drive new product awareness, trade up to higher performing products, congratulate a new mom, apologize for a poor product experience? Again, we put the objective and the brand needs first, not the tool, which I think fundamentally allows us to get much deeper into conversations with brands and be able to partner with them more successfully.
I've never heard you say that, and I love that. I'm writing that one down, Mike Loyson.
Great, and we'll move on to our final topic of the day. So let's discuss what brands and stakeholders can do to help facilitate retailer adoption. So Brandy, let's start with you because this is a big conversation topic here. What is the key to retailer adoption and why is this so important?
It's the last mile because we can all build all these incredible tools, but if the shopper can't take it into the retailer for redemption, then we're dead in the water. And so I think that the thing that my team's been focused on this year is awareness. We didn't realize how many retailers didn't know about the new coupon standard and what they needed to do to be able to participate. And we're a small team. And so we've been leveraging fantastic partners like what we call our accelerators. They are the ones that are typically a third-party vendor that already lives inside or around the retailer point of sale in some way, have cloud-based logic and adjudication capabilities. And they're the ones that are going out with us, sometimes on behalf of Bureau or 8112 to educate the retailers and then help them get connected. And they do that for free. They will do that work of connectivity for the retailer, which is really important, especially for our mid-tier and independents who may not have, someone that's managing point of sale in-house. But I would say our brand partners have been amazing to say, hey, Mr. Retailer, did you know about this thing? And then let me introduce you to the Bureau so you can figure out how to get connected. But this is the last mile. And I get really excited thinking this is the last mile that we're going to have, because once we get this work done, then anything that happens innovatively in couponing in the future can happen in the third-party vendors, or it can happen in Bureau and not have to happen directly on the retailer POS.
And Eddy, for you, for any other third-party service providers here, how do you and Qples feel about supporting retailer adoption, and what does that look like?
So we come at it from a different perspective. It's kind of this whole chicken and the egg thing. Everybody wants to know who's got the offers, because that's when we'll want to start doing the integration, and who's done the integration, because that's when we'll create the offers. And because we work directly with the brands, that's what we're focused on. We're setting up as many offers and as many things as we possibly can, so that when a retailer asks, not only do we have that question answered, we've got really unique custom campaigns and programs that are ready to go. And so the day that they go live, we can actually do that as well, because there's nothing worse than clipping the numbers or the banner opening up the store doors and no one being there. And so it's on our job to come through together and work with as many brands as we can to get those offers set up and ready so that the moment the next store goes live, it's a mad dash of coupons basically being unleashed.
Yeah, and if I could really quickly just say, one of the things that, from my perspective, again, I'm Switzerland, right? So I'm just standing here watching all of these partners interact with each other. And it has been inspiring, truthfully, because traditionally this market has not been so friendly with each other. This has been a very segregated, siloed market and lots of walled gardens. And I see all these partners leveraging each other and working with each. I mean, well, just yesterday, the Fobi Veracast thing, you've got a legacy company bringing in a newer, technology company to partner. And we see this over and over, an e-receipt company working directly with, like a Catalina, another legacy coupon company. And then we see new people come in, like Vibes, strictly all mobile, right? And new to the market. And that couldn't have existed before. And so I think that's what's probably been most exciting for me, is to think about now, not only can we bring these partnerships together between providers and technologists, but our accelerators are partnering with our retailers to bring them in and up. And I don't know, it's just felt like a much more collaborative environment all the way around. And that goes all the way down to us with the retailer level.
And Mike, can you share how you think manufacturers can help retailer adoption?
Yeah, of course. I think, and of course, this is through my P&G lens. I think the key for us is to help drive awareness and visibility to the timeline. I think 8112 is largely an idea that's been talked about for some time. And the fact that we're nearing a point where content will soon be available, I think may surprise folks. So I think we just need to be out there driving awareness, building understanding. I think from there, we need to listen, right? Listen to our retailers, partner with them to understand how 8112 can benefit them and how we can disproportionately help them win in market. Most importantly, we need to provide content. And then therefore, it's about how can we learn and innovate together. 8112 is a very simple tool, and I can't wait to figure out the ways we can partner with retailers to leverage that new tool.
For sure.
And Mike, kind of on the other side there, is there a certain approach that stakeholders should take when initiating connections or conversations with retailers?
Tim, I don't know if you've got some specific thoughts. You're typically more of an expert on the industry side.
Yeah. Deb, was that for Mike or for me?
Yes, sorry. Tim, Mike was just talking, had his name in my head.
No worries. No worries. No, I think the approach from my point of view is that we have to address this as the important industry initiative that it is. It's been said a couple of times during this session. It's a game changer. Not unlike the scannable UPC code, this is one of those things that will benchmark the industry, making a big pivot toward true efficiency and a much better consumer experience. I think it's our collective views and the position that we hold in the market, bringing that to the table, but it really is about reinforcing the value proposition of what universal coupons and the 8112 platform present. So the idea that there is a sunset for the 8110 platform and the fact that we all know that this is the new standard and we're moving toward what in essence is going to help the collective business do better, now's the time to move. Now's the time to adopt. So I think the discussions from our point of view is that we need to get really serious and have a discussion around what does implementation look like from a timeline standpoint, from a cost standpoint, from a full integration standpoint. And Mike made an incredible point, and Eddy was reinforcing it. It's really about now folding this new capability into the overall marketing strategy of how we want to reach consumers, how we want to bring new products to market, how we really want to operate our business going forward. So now's the time to act.
Yes.
Great. Well, that kind of wraps up our roundtable discussion part there. So we're going to transition into our Q&A, and I know we only have a few minutes left. So if we don't get to all of the questions, we will be reaching out and trying to answer the questions to the best that we can. But I will try and direct these to the person that I think they will be able to answer the best. Kind of our first question here, and Tim, it was very similar to what you were talking about just there, but Randy, I'll direct it to you. What does the timeline look like for retailer adoption? I know there's kind of not an exact time, but maybe just to give a better kind of adoption timeline.
Yes, because we are, as TCB, leveraging our accelerators to get this work done. We don't have 100% visibility into it. And I would say that our accelerators are in those processes of connecting, but we're talking about a technical project, really. So, and we've all probably done tech projects, whether that's building a website or a platform. It seems like it never ever happens as quickly as we all want it to. But I would say we, from TCB's perspective, have shifted our approach of how we're thinking about what that timeline looks like. And instead of looking at retailer connectivity, we're looking at content. And P&G and some of our other partners have established this, July live content date, meaning, listen, retailers, it's going to be there. The content's going to be there. And so we're having the expectation that as these promotions are issued, that the shoppers will have a place to come and redeem them. And the retailers are responding to that. And they're saying, yeah, we get it. Okay, we want to make sure that our shoppers can have access to that content, or we want to make sure that we can take that content and have that benefit for our shoppers when our competitor across the street doesn't. So I would say when I think about timelines, I'm looking at July, and not to say there isn't content available now. If we had a retailer connect tomorrow, we would start driving so much 8112 content there, because it's like this big dam that just keeps building up behind us of brands waiting. So that's what I would say though about timing. Anybody else have anything maybe to throw in there?
Yeah, I just add my perspective. I think it's a bit like landing an airplane on an aircraft carrier, right? You've got two moving targets. Content will be available summertime. I would imagine that would start to become visible on retailers who want to test and be early adopters. We, P&G, will certainly give them content. I would expect more broad scale national type facing content, perhaps in the fall, and then really a broad adoption in the early quarter next calendar year.
Eddy, I'm going to direct this next one to you as a provider. What is the average or ideal lead time to create a paper or digital 8112 offer? And if I need to create a last minute coupon, how much time would I need before I'm able to execute?
So I can only answer for myself, not all providers. But that could range very, very quickly for us. We can do it in a matter of minutes. It'll probably take longer to gather your assets for the coupon than it will to actually create the coupon. For paper, obviously, you need to talk to a physical paper provider, and they can range in the weeks to months, depending on how big or how large of a scale you're wanting to do. But for a simple digital 8112 offer, it literally can be created in about 15 minutes. It's a very, very simple process. You get your barcode created inside the coupon bureau, and the moment it's created in the bureau, it's immediately authorized to your Qples account. And from that point, you literally just load your details in, and in about 15 minutes, your coupon's ready to be distributed out.
Yeah, I would say whether it's digital or whether it's paper, I don't know that paper is going to have well, I guess, let me back up. Let me start over. I think it depends on what kind of paper we're talking about, right? If we're talking about mass distributed paper, that's probably going to take a little bit longer to set up, or a little bit longer lead time, just because they're planning when those actual distributions go out. So you've probably got a longer lead time there. But so I don't know that 8112 is necessarily going to speed up paper lead times. I know that we've got this kind of weird hybrid where we've got digital that end up in paper. And there's many examples of that. Those obviously could be created, I would think, more quickly, but certainly for digital campaigns, I think that it's definitely quicker than what some of the paper alternatives are right now.
I would say paper is months, load ID is weeks, 8112 is minutes.
There you go. We should ask him first, Dev.
Well, perfect. I'm just going to be conscious of time for all of our panelists because I know they're very busy. So I'd just like to, first of all, thank you all for joining us today and getting to dive deeper into this roundtable discussion. I think it's great for so many educated people in this field to come together and express their ideas and have conversations about this new 8112 coupon format that's moving forward. Just before we sign off, I will say that yes, this has been recorded and it will be available to watch at a later time. But I would just like to pass it off to each of you to have kind of some final words that you'd like to say. So Eddy, I'll start with you.
I just want to say thank you. I love getting to talk about all this stuff. The ideas behind the executions is always some of the more fun parts that we get to do. And so this just gives me even more ideas and more things that we need to go out and create and do.
Great. And Tim?
Just thrilled to be part of this initiative, and feel like it's worth every moment that we spend on it, driving an initiative that's going to change our industry. So so glad that we had such a good showing today and that there were so many people interested in this topic.
Mike?
Yeah, I would just say 8112 is a huge opportunity for the industry. Bring your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns now. It's an incredible opportunity to collaborate and make sure 8112 delivers your specific needs and it'll help drive your specific business. So always hoping to talk, happy to talk.
Great. And Brandy, I'll finish off with you.
Yeah, I love this group of humans here, but I just love seeing the industry come together around a new tool that really is a win-win-win for everyone. And if anyone that was here attending has questions, Brandy at thecouponbureau.org. Me and my team, that's our job, is to make sure that we're supporting and make sure that we're helping. So please do reach out. But Dev, you did a great job. Thank you for hosting us today. So appreciate it.
Perfect. And thank you to all of our listeners. You'll hear
Devin.
again from us soon. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.